Welcome back to another episode of the GCN Tech Clinic, where I answer and solve your bike-related problems, questions, queries, everything like that, so that you can go out riding again as smoothly as possible. So if you've got a problem, leave it down there in the comments section. Now let's crack on, shall we, with the first question this week, and it comes in from Jade. Now Jade has a Specialized 2012 Roubaix Expert with Shimano Ultegra STI, and they'd like to convert it to Di2. However, is it worth it? They've asked a couple of local shops so far and received a thumbs down, so that's quite sad. Is it too much work involved to switch it over? Now, it's definitely not too much hassle to switch the parts over, especially if you're really happy with the frame. After all, it can sometimes take quite some time to actually get used to a frame, so if you're happy with it, go ahead and put on the levers, the mechs, the cassette, and all the wires and the junction boxes, all of the gubbins, everything like that. Just bear in mind that you may well need a new rear wheel to fit an 11-speed cassette on, but from memory that was a 10-speed bike, so I'm pretty sure around then they had DT Swiss wheels fitted as standard, so you should be able to pop off that free hub body and put a new 11-speed one on, and also a different end cap on there too. Then you'll be more than happy to be able to ride along with your new 11-speed group set. Now we've got a question from Eat, Ride, Grow. Hi John, I love you more than life itself. Please help. This is like a dating show, it's unbelievable. Can I use Shimano Ultegra RX800 Di2 with a 1x11 setup, or does it necessitate a front derailleur to work because of the firmware? Maybe I should just use an XTR or XT derailleur instead. No, that Ultegra RX new rear mech will work absolutely fine. All that will happen is when you plug it all into the Di2 eTube software on your computer, it just won't recognise a front derailleur, but nothing to worry about at all. The rear mech will work absolutely fine. Something just to bear in mind or be aware of is that Ultegra rear derailleur will only accommodate up to a 34 tooth sprocket, according to Shimano. Now, I have seen videos and read about people out there who have actually managed to get it to work with a 40 tooth sprocket, although doing such would actually invalidate the warranty with Shimano, but it is possible, but I wouldn't personally bother doing it. Right, next up we have David Chapman, who says, hi John, would it be possible to make up an 11 to 21 straight through 11-speed Shimano cassette using a couple of cassettes by mixing and matching the sprockets? Certainly. And it's something I really actually miss about modern cassettes, because back when we had freewheels, we could actually assemble them to our own desired ratios. So when I was a junior, I'd have a 14 to 22 straight through freewheel. That was ideal for racing on flat circuits. You really just could fine tune your cadence according to the rest of the race going on. With your cassette, yep, you can do that. So grab a couple of cassettes, preferably with different ratios obviously, so you can actually mix and match it. You are going to need to have two 11-speed cassettes, for example, so you have the same spacers as well as the same width cassette sprockets. Go ahead, do it, and let me know what it turns out like. In fact, submit an image of it using the uploader tool. Now, John Potter, he sent in a question which is one of my pet hates. So John says, I'm finding that I get tapping noises that sounds like it's coming from the brake and gear cables rubbing up against the head tube, particularly on bumpy roads. Now John was going to try some of those small frame protector guards in the soft material, but do I have any other suggestions? John, that tapping noise, not good, is it? Now, what would I recommend? I would actually recommend something like what's on screen right now. So it's a rubber guard which goes over the cable. So it pushes on nice and easy, but they actually stay in place. Why is that better? Well, for a start, it's not going to be something ugly stuck onto your bike. And I think those self-adhesive things are really. And also, if you steer or put the bike in the back of the car, that sort of thing, the cables have a tendency to actually work up or down the head tube. So by using one of those rubber bumper guards, if you like, that's still going to be nice and in position. It's also going to certainly reduce that noise because that rubber does a great job of dampening out any sounds. Next up is Roybus Leary, who says, John, I want to put larger rotors on my rear wheel to improve the braking. I have 140 millimeters right now and want 160. What do I need to do this? Right then, Roybus, most calipers out there can actually be converted to allow them to work with different size rotors. So what you're going to do is pop down to your local shop and ask them for an adapter which will go onto the rear of your frame and allow you to actually mount that caliper in a different position so you can run a bigger rotor. Now, something to be aware of here is that most cyclists out there, both road and cross in our case, or touring, are more than happy with 140mm rotors. Well, of course, that does depend on what sort of terrain and riding you are doing. If you're running a heavy touring bike, then 160 rotors are probably going to be a better option, for instance. But just bear that in mind. But certainly, pop along to your local shop. You can get that adapter. You can get a 160mm rotor. You're going to be good to go. Now we've got one in from Philip Higgs. Philip says, "Hi John, like the show." Now Philip, I would have thought you would have said love. Anyway, I will continue with your question. Can you please recommend a bike to do everything? Cyclocross, winter road training and touring at any time of the year. Right then Philip, for this, I'm not going to mess around. I'm not going to beat around the bush. You're going to need yourself a cyclocross bike, preferably with some braze-ons, so you can attach the all-important winter mud guards that you are going to need, let's face it, for road training in the winter and also touring. And get this, you could even get away without having those braze-ons because you could put some clip-on mud guards on, as well as there's quite clever racking mechanisms these days out there from people like Topeak, who they go onto the seat post, for example, or Tailfin that uses a quick release mechanism. So instead of using your standard quick release on your rear wheel, you actually use one with extended tabs, then you put a rack onto that. Something like that, I reckon, because you are going to be able to do everything on that bike, whereas a touring bike, it's not going to be ideal for cyclocross. A winter road bike, well, you can't do cyclocross on that, and touring is going to be all right on it, but I think a cyclocross bike will be absolutely fine. Ignore the aggressive angles that you could find on it. I know it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable from time to time, but maybe just get a stem with a slight rise on it, and then that'll be okay for those touring trips you're going to go on. Now the next question comes in from Wolfazoo, who wants to know, can you put clincher tyres onto a tubular wheel or wheel set? Let's try and explain this one then with some handily placed props. So first up, I've got a rim, so it's a disc wheel in effect, but it does exactly the same job, let's face it, and it's a clincher type, as you can see here by the hooks on the inside of the rim sidewall. Then I've got a clincher tyre, foldable one. So the way that the tyre actually stays in place is when it's inflated, the beads go up against the inside of the rim sidewall and the pressure of the inner tube helps it stay in place. As opposed to a tubular tyre, got another prop here, which uses glue to hold the tyre on in place with the base tape. So you put loads and loads of glue on the base tape and that is going to hold it in position. As you can see, this one, it doesn't have any lips or hooks, anything like that. Instead, it's like a U shape. The only thing that holds it in place is the glue, as well as a lot of pressure in the tubular tyres normally. More emphasis on the glue really, rather than pressure, because cyclocross riders, they use, well, sometimes as low as 11 or 12 PSI in their tyres. So as you can see, there's no way at all that this tyre would ever actually stay on there because it has nothing at all to grip up against. So yeah, it's not going to work, I'm afraid, Wolfazoo. Right, next question comes in from Patrick Hickey, who says, how would I recommend cleaning the cassette on a smart turbo trainer? Is there any risk in cleaning it whilst it's still attached? Right, Patrick, good question. I wouldn't go too haphazardly trying to hose it down or jet wash it, because I don't know how well sealed turbo trainers are, the smart variety like you've got. Instead, grab yourself an old t-shirt or a cloth or a rag, anything like that, and actually try and go in between each individual sprocket and rub it backwards and forwards, like flossing, I guess. That's the easiest way to explain it. Alternatively, some biodegradable wet wipes. They do a great job of cleaning up virtually anything on your bike. So yeah, you could try that. Now, it begs the question, why is it dirty anyway? You should be taking good care of that chain. You should feel embarrassed. Final question this week comes in from Arthur, who says they were wondering whether they could use 11-speed shifters with a 10-speed chain, a 10-speed chainset, and a 10-speed cassette. Right, there are a few variables here in the mix. So your 10-speed cassette is not going to work. I'll come on to that though. The 10-speed chainset, that'll work. I've done it myself. The 10-speed chain, unless you've got super precise indexing, it's likely you're going to get a bit of rub or chatter on either sprocket, the sprocket either side on the cassette. So I wouldn't recommend it there either. Now, back to that cassette. The biggest problem here is that an 11-speed lever pulls a different amount of cable than a 10-speed one does. Because obviously the sprockets take up the same amount of space on the rear, virtually, but they are narrower spaced. So if you were to use an 11-speed shifter with a 10-speed cassette, you'll probably get a few alright gear changes, but as soon as you probably try and go more than 4 in one direction on the cassette, it's all going to go horribly wrong and you're not going to get decent gears. And that's what we're here for, isn't it? So I'm afraid that will not work. Sorry about that one, Arthur. Now, remember, if you've got yourself a bike-related problem, make sure you leave it for me down there in the comment section below. I am very, very keen, as ever, to help answer and solve them for you. Remember as well, check out the GCN shop at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. We have a whole heap of goodies for you to check out and spend your hard-earned cash on. And now for another great video, this time the latest GCN Tech show. How about clicking just down here?